Okay, it's Monday, February 12th, and we're here in Tampa, Florida, in my house, looking at an image of the 1950 Sunflower State Speedster, built in 1949 and 1950 by Dan Daniels and his father. Finished up in early 50, and he sold it just before going to Korea, so we only had it for a few months. And when he came back, he looked for it and never found it again. The family looked for it for decades, never found it. Thanks to Joel Driscoll in Raleigh, North Carolina, one of my good friends and consummate historian. He located the car about just 3 months ago or so, and we were able to talk him into it and talk him out of it and save the car and bring it down to Tampa, Florida, and look at doing the restoration and, well, first the saving of it and then the restoration of it over time down here in Tampa. So take a look at this car. It has, depending on how you look at things, it has survived or not survived well. I tend to think that it survived well. The fact that it survived at all is simply amazing. The fact that it survived with no one knowing its history, last time it was actually used, apparently, it looks like, from the license plate, if it's accurate, and this is the bumper that was used, it's 1975 in Texas. We did find it in Texas outside of Dallas, where Joel found it, and we brought it back. Good friend Jack Farr in Crescent, Texas, was volunteered, and it was very kind of him and his son Jimmy to bring it on back for us just a few weeks ago. And of course, 2 or 3 of the wheels wouldn't even turn. We've had pictures of it. It was just the drums were full of, well, actually one drum had a wasp nest in it and hornets and black widow spider. They come from Florida. So it's, oh my God, look at this car. It's, how do you know it's the 1950 Sunflower State Special? Well, Dan Daniels built a car that was quite unique. First of all, it's not cobbled from other bodies or nicely done from other bodies, like a 32 Ford would be beautiful, but he actually decided, he and his father decided to build the entire car and design it themselves. And it's actually a lot bigger than it looks in the pictures from the July 1950 Hot Rod magazine. That was one thing today as we sat some folks there. I was really surprised how big it is. I'm a big guy, and this would actually accommodate me nicely. But he took the hood, and as you'll see in the vintage pictures as well, he took the hood all the way to the front, the cockpit. I've never quite seen anything where the hood doesn't open up separate. Looks like someone actually may have done that years ago. But originally when it was built, it was hinged on the passenger side, and then it was opened up from here. And you had flat panels here, which would be very easy to do, and a grill to redo, which will actually be very complex. But we've got some talented people, John Pascucci and Pete Kenny down in JR Speed Shop in Venice, Florida, that can, I told them, can you do it in 3 weeks? And they said no. So we'll see how long it takes them. The floor would have to be replaced, obviously. The structural frame, you can see frame members wise, is just fine. And most of the framework appears all done and not modified from original, although it used to have a 2-speed rear end, and now it has a banjo rear end, a normal Ford up to like 39 to 48. So if we want to make it a 2-speed rear end, we'll have to replace that back. And underneath the pedals here are actually 40 Ford kind of style pedals. Those modern pedals been welded on, both of them. So those are the original pedals underneath. And you can see where the dashboard actually was I think this part would have been cut out by someone later. But the dashboard itself would have gone there. When you open up the hood, it reveals all the dashboard wiring all behind it. It's actually quite unique in that way. I haven't seen anything like that. When we found the car, it had lots of doodads all over it, from a roll bar that wasn't supposed to be there and a luggage rack. And we did pull that stuff off a few weeks ago. And we pulled off some chrome trim. And actually, much to my surprise, it looks a lot better without all that stuff. We found the bumper, the original one. I assume it's the original one since he actually has the cutouts that match the exhaust ports. And we're locating parts. Those are 1942 or so Buick rear taillights, and the gauges that were used were late 40s or early 40s Buick style as well, probably a donor car at the time, and we're in the process of locating those. These match exactly. I don't know if it looks like these may have been hand fabricated, but these are the ones that you see, the windshield posts in 1950 July issue of Hot Rod magazine, and the pictures that the family has. And these scoops are later additions to fiberglass. He had a small metal scoop on it at the time. Fiberglass wasn't a big issue or a big thing until mid to late 50s, even maybe early to mid 50s, but not 49 or 50. The cutout for the is identical. I don't think they made any modifications. There used to be a roll of it, upholstery to go around it. The interior is rather simple to do. You can see in here, it needs to be cleaned up. This is not that bad. You know, the majority of the cars here, except for the grille and the sides, the engine's a Ford flathead, or Mercury flathead as I remember, and those are fairly easy to procure. And I checked with my body guys, and you know, we don't do as much rust down here in Florida, but I came from Chicago where rust was a given. And for cars up in Chicago, big old steel like my old Cadillacs, and so when I had a kid, you know, this is actually not too bad. So luckily this flat panel can be welded in or replaced, and we'll probably try to just replace the metal that has been rotten. Let's see, tail lights back end hasn't been modified, has not been. The kind of has a cool look. What else on this? We came with 1988 Suzuki Samurai wheels, so we had an old set of wire wheels from 1935. Ford made 16-inch wire wheels in 35, so we put those on. It looked a lot better, and thanks to Nate Bound last weekend was able to break loose the brake drums, and we took out all the brake parts so this car would actually roll with a transporter, and got some tires that wouldn't deflate, so we can be transported okay nicely. Let's see, what else can we talk about? I'll have to take a look. I think the headlights are identifiable in the 1950 July issue, and the family photos as well. We're hoping to get a good picture from the family on the vintage photos so we can see exactly the instruments in 1942 that they used. And I kind of look. Let's see what we can do here. Let's see, there we go. Kind of was an interesting look. Of course, it's missing stuff in the front, so you have to kind of think about the lower value here. All right. We go here. And there. We put a, see here, I want to be hit by a car. Well, here comes a car. There we go. Oh, we use a little drone to fly over this. Yes. And we do some interesting shots here. It's a pretty hefty car. I'm impressed with the size. I thought from the pictures it looked smaller than it is, and it's not. It is big. All right, so there you have it, the 1950 Dan Daniels Speedster. Hardline Magazine called it the Sunflower State Speedster because it was built in Wichita, Kansas. And I'm honored and thankful to have found Pat Daniels and Jack Daniels, his two sons, about my age. I'm 55, they're in their 50s, I think. And we are in communication, and they're pulling pictures for me, and we're all excited, all three of us or more, that their father's car has been found, and that restoration will begin soon, sometime this spring or summer. There you have it. 1950 Dan Daniels Sunflower State Speedster.